Hi, everyone. Welcome to our pre-session for the 17th, where we're going to talk more in depth about demos and how to use AI tools and Copilot tools within the Microsoft suite. So quick round of intros for those of us on the call. My name is Tirza Van Dam. I'm based in New York, and I am a data and AI specialist covering that supports all of you watching this on this call. Martin?
Hello, everybody. My name is Martin Schmörl. I'm based in Zurich. I am a technology strategist and try to cover almost all our products a little bit. Today, I will focus on the Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Jamie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Bryant. I'm also an Azure specialist. My focus is on infrastructure, applications, and security. So I'll be learning with you ahead of today's session.
Wonderful. And we do have more people that will be on the 17th that are out today. So we'll be covering down on them. A couple other notes. We are doing this live, so we're not editing anything. So please excuse any bloopers that you may see in this, but we'll try to keep it light and fun. And the whole goal is to educate you on what the options are and what the Copilot stack is in Microsoft. So as you probably all know, Microsoft is putting generative AI solutions into all of its products. This is kind of a nice graphic that shows where it's getting infused, and really it's everything. So we're going to cover some of them today. The ones that we are not going to cover are GitHub Copilot, which is our oldest one. Most of you are probably familiar with that, but that's really for developers. Security Copilot, which is a Copilot just for your security stack, your cybersecurity stack. Dynamics Copilot. Windows Copilot, which a few of you we've had conversations on already, but that is in your Windows 11. And then lastly, for everyone that lives in the Azure portal, it's not for part of their job. We won't be covering the Azure portal Copilot, but just know that is out there as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with just kind of framing how to think about what copilots are and when to use what. So you might ask, and I've been asked this many times, is how do you know which one to choose? Because you guys are coming out with so many, and it's quite frankly very hard to keep up. I can say that I understand that sentiment 100%, but we're going to try to break it down for you here. There are a few considerations that you should take into account. One is, what is the problem you are trying to solve? And different AI models are designed for different tasks. So it's important to choose the one that's the best suited for that's at least well suited, if not the best suited to your specific use case. And then secondly, what is your data that's coming along with this? So consider what type of data and how much data you have, and then where that data resides, to make sure that it's accessible by whatever tool you want to use, or to make sure that you choose the right tool to fit those data requirements. And then for ease of use, this is really just getting to who's actually going to be developing it and who's going to be using it. Some are easier to use than others, which we'll show you in a couple slides. So just understand what your technical expertise is as you're using that. And then lastly, of course, is the cost and licensing of each of those, and that can factor in with your business decision for sure on which tool to use. And some of them do overlap in their capabilities, so that's an important consideration. Okay, so if you want to break this down just a little bit further, let's say that you do want to use a Gen AI tool, you want to build a Gen AI app. So there's a couple different decision trees, if you will, that you can kind of go through. This is just we really like this example on how to at least start to think about framing when to use what. So the first one is, do you want to build your own, or do you want to use more like a SaaS interface? And so that's this one right here. If you want to use something that's already built for you, then the next question is, do you want it to use your data, or do you want it to use, just kind of like ChatGPT consumer version where you just ask questions of the data set that's already out there? And so if that's the case, then you want to go with Bing Chat Enterprise. And that is data protected. There are some limitations with that, which we'll get into, but it's a good starting point. I personally use it every day in my workflow. If you do want to use your own data in kind of your Microsoft Graph, so think about the SharePoints, think about OneDrives, etc., then M365. And if you're thinking about all the Office suites and in kind of integrating that into your workflows, that's where you would go with M365 Copilot. Now, backing up one, if you want to make it, if you want to build your own, okay, so then you come down here, and the next question is, do you want to do low code, or do you want to make it fully custom and really bring all the power that comes with building a fully customizable tool? And that's kind of the difference between Copilot Studio, formerly PVA, and Azure AI Studio, with Azure OpenAI or any of the other Gen AI models that are in the model catalog now. So hopefully that helps you break it down on a decision tree and kind of where to look for it. And you will notice that it's going from the least complex to the most complex as we go from the top to the bottom. And I'll turn it over to Martin to talk the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Tirsa. So this just has the same outline. The most complex one for sure is at the bottom. You see here our layers from the machine learning platform up until to the SaaS application layer. And in terms of how to decide which tool to use, a general rule can be to select the one which is the highest in this list, on the highest layer. And only if you find that you cannot solve or meet your needs, go one level down. This might also be valuable in thinking about which tool to use in this context. I mean, just to give you an example, if you want to create a speech understanding service, don't try to create your own machine learning model, but use something that we have already on the application layer available for you. Yeah, and with that, I hope I could make this a little bit clearer. Back to you, Tirsa.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go through each of the co-pilots, give you a quick overview of them, and then we'll wrap. So the first one is Bing Chat Enterprise, and I'll turn it back over to Martin to go through this.
Yeah, so the most important thing with Bing Chat Enterprise or consumer is that both only work with data that are available on the web and not with your own data. It's a service which you can access through Bing Chat bing.com/chat or also copilot.microsoft.com. It has all the latest models included. GPT-4 is available through this. Also DALL-E. You can put in a picture there, which I will show on the 17th, and ask the system to explain it and interpret it. And you will see that Bing Chat Enterprise can figure a lot out and give a lot of background information if you just upload a single picture to the service. If you access the service using your enterprise credentials, then you will automatically be redirected to the enterprise version of the Copilot. This enterprise version offers then commercial data protection, where we guarantee our customers that the prompts will not be stored, neither the user name who is accessing the service will be stored, and that the information that you put in or that you get back will not be used to train the models. Last point around licensing, almost all of you have a Microsoft 365 E3 license. And in this case, you already have it licensed and can use the Bing Chat Enterprise with commercial data protection. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes, of course. And I want to correct myself. I keep on calling it Bing Chat Enterprise. Microsoft has rebranded it to just be Copilot for clarity. Really, for myself, I put Copilot in Bing, but just so you know, that's the official name now.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, now over to M365.
Okay. So what is now the Copilot for Microsoft 365? As I said before, the Bing Chat Enterprise or Copilot, and this is why I like to use the old names because they are clearer, only uses the data from the web to give you answers back. Now, if you want to have your own data, which are stored in your company in Microsoft Assets, meaning everything that is stored in the Microsoft Graph, meaning, again, this is everything from your OneNotes to SharePoint files to team chats to PowerPoint slides, then you can use the Microsoft 365 Copilot. And this is a complicated graph here, but in essence, what it says is if you start out with the Microsoft 365 apps, where you put in a prompt, a question, then the system goes into the Microsoft Graph and, as we call it, grounds the query, the question, in your own data. And after selecting the right data that are needed to answer the prompt from the graph, the information gets sent to the large language model, which then does its magic and brings back a response, which is then checked again for various things. For example, we of course need to check if the user who is asking has the rights to access the data he or she is trying to get back. And if all these checks are gone through, the answer is sent back to the Microsoft 365 app, which you are using, and you see a search or a prompt result. Yeah, that's basically how it works. As a summary, I understand that you need to see this, and I will show it live on the 17th to really understand its business and value. And I will do that for sure on the 17th.
And I'll just add one thing for the M365 Copilot, which is the extensibility. So let's say that you have Workday, for example, you can use a connector to Workday to bring that data in as well to your M365 Copilot. And anything to add there, Martin?
Yeah, one more thing. It's now public. The pricing is $27 per user per month. And yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to Power Platform and what we can do there. So Copilot Studio is the newly branded PVA. So PVA was folded into Copilot Studio. And there's a standalone Copilot Studio, and then there's Copilot Studio for M365. So just know that you can access it in M365 or as a standalone. So this is, they have made a few updates to Copilot Studio from PVA, but in essence, PVA was folded into it. So this allows you to really, two kind of sample use cases is one, building a external chatbot with customers or stakeholders that can be tied to your data to answer questions. So let's say that somebody has a question about the policy for X in country Y, and you have this external chatbot to answer those questions. So kind of like a help desk, if you will, for external users, also for internal users as well, because it can be integrated into Teams. So that would be more for your internal kind of chatbot Q&A. And then you can also add plugins to PVA as well. So as I mentioned, the standalone is $200 per tenant per month for 25,000 messages. So that's the standalone licensing. And then the Copilot for M360, Copilot Studio and M365 is included in the M365 license. And so Power Apps, we know we have a pretty heavy Power Apps community throughout the UN ecosystem. Power Apps is one of those co-pilots that is to assist you in the workflow, the internal workflow of building a Power App. So, so you can really build applications faster in that workflow and really go from, Martin said this earlier before we started recording, but really going from low code to no code, because you say what you want it to do in natural language. It will then show you what it thinks it understood, let you verify, and then you can start building. So very, very cool. It is included with your Power Apps licenses. So pretty awesome there. Similarly, Power Automate, Copilot and Power Automate is also included and part of the experience of developing it. And so you can now, again, use natural language to explain the process that you are currently doing and what you want to automate, where you want the automations to go, etc. It'll build it out for you and validate that that's what you want, and then it really makes it very, very quick. I can build a Power Automate flow now in about 10 minutes. That used to take me a couple days because I was not a Power Automate expert. So pretty cool for that. The thing that I forgot to mention in Power Apps that's not mentioned here, but there is a new feature in preview that has within your Power Apps an external facing natural language built in, so you can really interact with the app completely using natural language instead of, clicking on buttons, etc., and navigating through an app. So that's pretty cool. It's coming. I saw it last week, which is kind of cool. Okay, so now moving on to Fabric and Power BI. Power BI kind of sits in this weird space where it's part of Power Platform, but also part of Fabric. So we'll talk about that first. And so Copilot and Power BI, again, it helps. This actually kind of goes into both helping build reports. So it's part of the workflow to explain in natural language right here what you want the report to do or what insights you want to gain from the report as you're building it. but there's also a couple visuals that you can use where you can interact with the data in a natural language that the end user could do as well as you publish the reports. The licensing requirements for this is you have to have a premium capacity or a F64 fabric capacity, which is equivalent to a P1 in Power BI to be able to access Power BI Copilot. And then moving that up one, so Copilot in Fabric is really similar to the rest of the Power Platform, helping you build build out your data analytics faster. So it's a internal productivity tool for those using Fabric. You have Copilot for Data Factory, so for your data ingest, again, like helping you ingest and transform data. And then you have the Copilot for Data Science and Data Engineering, which again helps you use natural language to do fairly simple stuff all the way to building analytical models. So pretty cool there in what the capabilities are coming in to help with Microsoft tooling and just make you more productive with the Microsoft tooling. Okay, so next we'll go into Azure, which is probably the most complex because it's all platform as a service. So within Azure OpenAI, we now have the Azure AI Studio, which has all the AI, the cognitive services, now all the Azure AI services within it. It has all of the models within it. And so the licensing cost here is different than all of the SaaS models. This is all consumption based, just like the rest of the Azure. So the more you consume, the more compute you use, the higher the cost. So this is your kind of your more variable cost as you look at this. But where do you want to use this, and when should you use this? This is really for more of your pro developers and data engineers, data scientists. There's it's kind of an in-between field between your traditional devs and your data engineers, data scientists. But some of the use cases are really things, again, that don't fit into the SaaS offerings. So if you want to reason over your structured and unstructured data, if you want to do plugins for existing apps, that's a favorite to build these plugins. These Gen AI plugins for apps that already exist. You can fine tune your LLMs here as well if you want to make it more fine tuned. And then you can tag, you can understand images, you can generate images. We just came out with all of the latest models that OpenAI has that's now available in Azure OpenAI, plus all of there's a bring your own model type of thing as well. So that's kind of where we're at with Azure OpenAI. The possibilities are pretty endless here as with a custom development solution. So let's see. Just in closing, you've probably seen that this is really Gen AI is coming into the products. We gave you a brief overview, just scratched the tip of the iceberg here. The licensing does vary between each one. The Microsoft is learning kind of as they go, and it is rapidly evolving still. We're about a year in from when we started this journey, and it's still evolving every week. So just know that the name of the game is change right now, but it's pretty exciting as well. Most of the copilots that you have seen do help improve internal workflows for particular applications, but there are other copilots that are meant to help the end user or the business users in their workflows as well. So just know there's those two different types. of co-pilots that we're seeing being infused into the products. And as Martin has said a couple times now, you really want to use the one that is the least complex option that meets your requirements. And I'll pause there to see if Jamie or Martin have anything. Did we miss anything? Any questions?
I think great. I'd say always learn loads. So yeah, my day-to-day is infrastructure, networking, and security. So I had one question that came up. When would you use Power Virtual Agents over Azure OpenAI?
Yeah, great question. And I think it goes back to a couple things. One is, what is your use case, and who is developing it? So if you want something that's more low code, then you can use PVA. What data source is it connecting to, and how many data sources is it connecting to? Because there is a limit there with Copilot Studio used to be PVA, and then how much do you want to customize it is another factor there. And lastly, I would say is the predictability of the pricing. So with Copilot Studio, it's $200 a month, up to 25,000 messages, whereas Azure OpenAI is purely consumption based, so it's more variable in costs. And I think those are kind of the main differences. There are some use cases that overlap, and you could use either tool. And I think then it comes down to who's developing and what are they comfortable with, and then how it's going to integrate in, how it's going to integrate into whatever you're building it for. Anything else?
Nothing from me.
Okay, so again, thank you. I hope you all watch this. We'll ask you on the 17th if you were able to watch this. Fiona said you all will. So tell her thank you for this. And we'll see you on the 17th. Again, this is a primer for actually going through use cases and showing what the technology can do on the 17th. We hope to see you there, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to meeting you on the 17th. Bye-bye.